Well, it's been a while since we did a cooking show, and been looking forward to doing this again. But I ran out of friends to invite, so I had to invite a relative. So this is my brother Greg, and Greg's about a year and a half younger than I am, and smarter but younger.
Thank you.
And he's a fairly picky eater, so I tried to pick recipes that I knew he liked, although I'm taking a chance on the chicken because it has rosemary in it, which he's not real fond of. But we're going to give it a try.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to start with a dessert, and we're going to do pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie, most of you make this. This is really a simple dish, but Greg and I have a certain take on it. I kind of got this from Greg, who got it from our mother, that a lot of pumpkin pies are over-spiced and you can't even taste the pumpkin. So what I've done is I've cut way back on the traditional spices so that the pumpkin flavor comes through more. And so basically you can take the recipe on a can of pumpkin and have everything, all the spices, and you're good to go. But I'll have the recipe that I have written out at the end of the segment. Okay, so we're going to start out, I'm going to put it in a stand mixer. So we're going to start out with 2 eggs, whole eggs. Messy. And paper towel. And then I've got the spices all here. It's a ½ teaspoon of salt, a ¼ teaspoon of ginger, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/8 teaspoon of cloves, ground cloves. So we're just going to dump that into the egg mixture, and we're going to put that in the stand mixer and get it going. Okay, I'm going to use the paddle attachment on the stand mixer, and I'm just going to get those going. And there's a 3/4 cup of sugar, but I need to get in there too. So there's a ½ cup. And I don't cut back on the sugar very much because it kind of needs that. And there's a 1/4. And then we'll just get that going. And once that's mixed up pretty well, I put in the pumpkin. It's just 1 can of pumpkin. It always takes some teasing to get it all out. And incorporate that. And then 1 whole can of evaporated milk. And I just pour that in fairly gradually. And then we're going to put that in our pie shell. And here's Mama Pillsbury's pie dough, which I have got to room temperature. and I have the oven preheating to 425. And the reason to start it with the higher temperature is to cook that bottom dough. If you don't do that, it comes out kind of doughy and
Mushy.
Disgusting.
Yes, that too.
And so, and then we'll just pour that mixture into there.
You want your spatula?
Yeah. And on a normal 9-inch pie crust, you think it isn't going to hold it all, but it always does. And then I just take a fork and gently push all around. You can use your fingers and make a scallop if you like. I just find this easiest, and I cut off any excess. And we will put that into the oven. And it's always nice when you get over here without spilling it. That is going to cook at 425 for about 15 minutes, and then we'll lower it to 350, 40 to 50 minutes. And you know how that goes. You can just take a knife and stick it into the middle of the pie, and if something sticks to the knife, it isn't done yet. If it comes out clean, you're ready to go. Now we'll start on the next thing. The next thing we're going to make is the pasta. So I'm going to get the pasta water started. While that's warming up, we'll make the sauce. We'll get that warming. Warms faster with a lid on it. That's going to be penne pasta, and then we're going to make a sauce with. This is olive oil and bacon rendered, and we're going to leave all the grease in there, so this is a disgusting recipe. And then we're going to put some diced green onion tops, some diced celery, and some ham sliced up. So you've got ham and bacon. This is so meaty. So I'm going to turn that on. And let the onion and celery cook in there. The ham and bacon, of course, are already cooked, but mostly I want to get those vegetables cooking. And they'll have time to do that while we're cooking the pasta. And then at the very end, we're going to put on some lima beans. Now, in Italy, they make these with green fava beans, but you can't get those here. And lima beans look and taste very similar, so good to go. And somehow or other, those lima beans and the bacon, oh, they really turn out nice. No cheese in this sauce, just those ingredients. And then you pour that over the penne pasta and eat it right away while it's hot. And Greg had this years ago when I used to be in Clyde, but and I remember that he liked it, but I asked him the other day and he said, "What?" I don't remember that. So
that was a little ways back.
Yeah, that was 25 years ago. So
oh, I remembered.
Yeah. So we'll see what you say, whether you still like it or not.
Oh, I'll love it.
Okay. So we'll get that cooking up here, and it needs a little A little salt and pepper, not a lot of salt because you've got bacon, pepper to taste, and we'll let that go for a few minutes. So the pasta is about ready. You see what we've done here. We've got all of those ingredients cooked down and the lima beans are warmed up, and so that is ready to go. And we'll pull off the pasta and drain it. So we're just going to put some pasta in each bowl. This is so hearty that this could be your main course too. We're using it as a first course, but it would be fine the other way as well. So I've kept a low heat on that while the pasta was boiling so that it's nice and hot. And normally I would put a little fresh diced parsley over that, but I forgot to do that. So in that case, we're just going to put a little bit of cracked pepper. And it's ready to eat. So grab your bowl there, Greg.
Okay.
And just give that a toss so that all your pasta gets coated with that oil, because that's great flavor. It's a good winter dish. Actually, it could use a little more salt.
Well, not for me, but
Okay. Janet would need more salt. We've got 2 chicken breasts here, and I have salted both sides beginning about an hour ago, because if you salt them and let that sit there for a while, it actually moistens the chicken, and it'll be better, more moist when you eat it. And so I just peppered the second side. And we're going to use a cast iron skillet. And with all your chicken recipes, you want to get a good sear on it, and nice browning, and cast iron works great for that. And actually, this is called a chicken fryer. I bought this in an antique store many years ago, so I don't know how much older it is than that. But they were made for frying chicken, because you could get a depth of oil and still have some high sides, and it kept the spattering to a minimum. And but I use it for everything. It's my go-to cast iron skillet. And I'm going to put a little bit of grapeseed oil, any kind of oil you want to use. Any vegetable oil is fine. And that's about a tablespoon. And then I'm going to put about a tablespoon of butter with that. And I'm actually using ghee. And ghee is popular in India and the Far East. And all it is clarified butter. So clarified butter has all the water cooked out of it so that it doesn't spatter. And but other than that, it's just butter. But to put that in a skillet and not have it spatter, oh, that's just wonderful. And you can get this at Dillon's. That's where I got this. But obviously, regular butter works fine too. It's just that it's going to spatter on you. One of the reasons for putting the oil in first, though, is that when you have regular butter, that kind of controls the spattering while the butter is warming up. Okay. Now there are 2 main ingredients with this. One is garlic, and the other is rosemary. And this is a pretty traditional Italian recipe. I got the recipe out of Marcella Hazan's Classic Italian Cooking. And it just has a lot of traditional Italian recipes. I think I want 3 cloves. Okay, and then we just want to smash those. We're not going to dice them up at all. We just want to smash them so that they cook in the oil and give nice flavor to the oil. We're not going to be eating these. We're going to take them out before we eat the dish. It's just for flavoring. And then we have a few sprigs of fresh rosemary. So let's first brown the chicken. So I've got this oil and butter pretty hot, and we're just gonna stick the chicken in and start browning it. That sizzle tells you that it was the right temperature to put it in. And one of the keys here is to leave it alone and let it brown. And that takes 3 or 4 minutes. And that's, if you don't have something else to do, like chop something or something, it's so hard to stand here and wait 3 to 4 minutes for that to brown. And these are pretty large pieces. Chicken is a little bit more like fish than like beef. Beef doesn't like to be cooked fast. You don't really have to cook chicken long and slow like you do beef. So the fact that we've got it on high temperature and we're really browning it and cooking it about halfway through, that's really not toughening it at all. Now, about halfway through that browning process, we're going to toss in the garlic. And the garlic, of course, is going to burn, and normally you don't want garlic to burn because it kind of gets a nasty flavor. But you're not going to be eating this garlic, so it's not a problem. It's going to be flavoring the juices from the chicken, the oil, and the wine. And you can already smell that garlic. I was a little anxious. I like it browner than that, but it's okay. It'll be fine. So we're going to let that cook on this side for a bit. And this time we're going to stick in the rosemary. And now we're going to pour in a dry white wine, which even though it came out of the refrigerator, you see boils pretty quickly because that skillet is really hot. And we're going to let that reduce a little bit, and then we're going to cover it with a lid. And then we'll turn it down a bit, turn it down to about medium, and that'll steam the rest of the way. And check it, a couple of times to see if it gets dry, you add more wine. And if there's too much liquid at the end, you can always just take the chicken out and turn the heat up and reduce it. But that's going to be your sauce over the chicken, these juices left over from the cooking. I don't know if any of you remember when we did the lemon chicken. It's the same principle. You're reducing that lemon and wine until you get the right consistency, and that's your sauce. So here, the flavors are garlic and rosemary instead of lemon, but it's the same principle. And I kind of like to check the temperature with a instant read thermometer, because chicken, it has to be 165 degrees to be safe. But you don't want it over 170 or it's tough. And so it's kind of, you want it right in there, and that's why I take its temperature 3 or 4 times until I get it right. And if the pan goes dry, as long as it isn't too long, that's actually a good thing, because it intensifies the flavor. So when you put more wine in there, it's darker the second time, and there's just tons more flavor. So let it go dry. Don't worry about that. And you can tell without taking the lid off if it has gone dry, because you'll hear a sizzle. And when you hear that, then you know that you need to add more wine. So we're going to take that out and just let it rest. And we'll cook this other one a bit more. It was up to about 145, so I still got 20 degrees to go. So I've got the chicken resting and just reducing that sauce a little bit, and see how it's turned brown from the cooking of the chicken. And now we are going to remove the garlic and the rosemary. So that we just have the pure flavor of the sauce. And you can do this with dried rosemary too. I have done it that way, but I don't remember how different it is. I think it's quite similar. And then there's wonderful juice from the resting. We want to put that in there too. We want to waste that flavor. Get that incorporated. And then right at the end, it needs a little salt and pepper. Just a pinch of salt and about 3 grinds of pepper. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, now we just need to interrupt that and take out the pie. Nicely puffed up, and of course that will shrink down as it cools. Now we're going to pour this wonderful sauce right over the chicken. And the trick is you want to get some of that sauce right on your chicken. And there's your large raw piece, Greg.
You never did say if it was done.
I just said it was raw.
Looks good.
Let's taste, yeah.
It's good. Surprised.
You know, just with a regular table knife. It just goes right through there. It's so tender and juicy. This is not a tailgate dinner.